Know this. Soon I will write a book about what I speak of on this channel, because it is necessary to stop and go deeper. For example, into the fact that someone has it in for Christians. They don't usually say it to your face. You feel it in the air, in a certain tone of voice when they say the word Catholic or evangelical, in that faint little laugh when someone mentions in public that they pray, in the quick shift of a conversation, the way the Christian is quietly filed away under backward, foolish, dangerous. It is worth pausing for a moment and asking why. Why do they have it in for Christians? Not Buddhists, not shamans, not wellness gurus selling mindfulness courses for £3,000, nor Muslims. With them, no. With them it is all respectful solemnity, all every tradition carries truth. With Christians, no. With Christians there is something that scratches. Let's look at it straight in the eye, without pretending. Let's begin with the facts. Christians are today, right now, the most persecuted religious community in the world. That is not an opinion. It is what the numbers say. According to the organization Open Doors, which publishes the World Watch List each year, around 365 million Christians worldwide live under conditions of high persecution or discrimination. 365 million. Nearly 6,000 Christians killed every year for their faith. More than 4,000 churches destroyed, damaged, or closed. Where? In North Korea, where professing the Christian faith can mean disappearing into a labor camp or being executed with your children in front of your community as a warning. In Nigeria, where Christians in the south are massacred by Islamist militants from Boko Haram and the terrorist organization ISWAP. In northern Mozambique, in Somalia, in Mali, in Burkina Faso. In Pakistan, where blasphemy laws are used as weapons against Christian minorities, where a woman like Asia Bibi can spend years on death row over a dispute about water. In India, where Hindu nationalism has made Christians an easy target. In China, where crosses are torn down and pastors disappear into the silence of bureaucracy. This in the world. This now. Not in the Middle Ages. Now. But it is not new. There is a red thread running through history that holds it all together. It begins in Rome. Nero sets Christians on fire and uses them as torches in his gardens. Domitian sends them to the arena. Diocletian orders the great persecution, the last and most systematic one, the one that tries to tear Christian memory out of the empire, like a weed from a garden. He burns the sacred books, destroys the churches, puts people to death, and every time the result is the same. The faith survives. Not only survives, it grows, as if persecution were its natural habitat, as if the blood of the martyrs, and here Tertullian knew what he was talking about, were truly the seed of the Christians. From the Colosseum to the catacombs. From the catacombs through the centuries. From the centuries to the burned churches of Lagos and the Christian villages raised in the Sahel. The same story, always. And do you know what? Jesus had said it, not as a threat, as a description. As when someone understands the nature of things so well that he can tell you the future without needing to prophesy. If they persecuted me, they will persecute you also. A sentence that leaves no room for ambiguity. To declare that Jesus is the Son of God is not just one religious opinion among many. It is not like preferring jazz to rock. It is an act that cuts through reality. It is an act that divides. Because it says something precise about the human being. It says that within every man and every woman there is something that comes from God, that belongs to God, that cannot be reduced to flesh, to instinct, to the market, to a number, that cannot be controlled, manipulated, sold. That is frightening. A human being who knows he is a child of God cannot be governed at will. You cannot convince him that his value depends on what he produces. You cannot keep him in check through fear. You cannot empty him out. So you go after the one who reminds him of it. A Christian who is conscious of what he believes cannot easily become a cog in the machinery of power. And so power, which wants people ignorant and unaware, reacts. In the Islamic world, persecution is explicit. In countries where Sharia governs public life, Christians exist as dhimmi, as second-class protected subjects, citizens in a condition of structural subordination. In some states, they cannot build churches. They cannot let bells ring. But above all, they cannot convert a Muslim on pain of death. In certain contexts, the choice is explicit and brutal. Convert or remain what you are, but at the cost of your life. It is a persecution you can see. You can name it. You can count it. But in the West, the mechanism is different. More subtle. More elegant. More insidious. Because it leaves no visible bruises. Because you cannot point to it and say, there, that is persecution. In the West, persecution works like a laugh, like a quick scroll, like a raised eyebrow, like the tone that lets you know you are naive, that you are behind the times, that intelligent people have already stopped believing such things. The sickness of the West is self-hatred. I speak about it often in my books. It would almost be touching if it were not so painful. A civilization that built hospitals and universities, that articulated human rights, that produced Dante and Bach and Michelangelo, that sits down every day with a knife pointed at its own roots. And the roots of that civilization have a name. They are called Christ. Notre Dame Cathedral burns and the world stops to watch. Not because it is an old building, but because something in every European, even in those who do not believe, even in those who proudly call themselves atheists, feels that something of themselves is burning. Because that stone is not just stone. It is the monogram of a continent's identity. When the disease of an age is self-hatred, the natural target is whatever formed you. Christians in the West are mocked and marginalized, not despite being the root, but precisely because they are. Attacking them is the quickest way to signal modernity, to show the group that you have evolved, that you have left the past behind. Only no one who cuts off his roots ever goes far. He simply ends up in the end with his hands full of emptiness. Here, one uncomfortable thing must be said. The Catholic clerical system of recent decades has not helped. The scandals, the cover-ups, the complicity of silence, all this has handed ammunition to those who wanted to fire anyway. It must be said, we cannot pretend nothing happened. But one thing is the clerical system as a human institution, with its enormous sins and real shame. Another thing is Christianity. Another thing is Jesus. To identify Christ with the most corrupt priests is like identifying poetry with the worst bureaucrat in the academy. The betrayal of those who bear the name does not erase the name. Judas did not erase it. No one will. And so, Let us pray for persecuted Christians in Nigeria and Pakistan, in North Korea and China, in every place where professing the faith costs blood. They are our brothers and sisters. Their endurance is ours. And let us keep our eyes open to the gentle persecution of the West, the kind that works through irony and silence, the kind that does not kill the body but tries to kill the voice. Because every time a Christian says in public that Jesus is the Christ, Son of God and Son of Man, he is doing something precise in the world. He is not reciting a formula. He is proclaiming that the human being is not reducible to matter, that within every man and every woman there is a secret chamber where the world cannot enter, where the market cannot reach, where propaganda breaks apart. This is an act of resistance, not militant, not violent, but as radical as any human act can be. And perhaps that is precisely why it irritates so deeply